Okay, so this is what the main screen of GoodNotes 5 looks like. As you can see, I already have a few folders organized in this app, as well as a few worksheets and other things on the main screen. So this is what it will look like whenever you start up GoodNotes 5. And as you can see, there's a few tools that I can get into on the home page. And so down here we have Documents, which is the page that we are on. We have the search tool, which shows recently opened documents, and you can go in and search specific files. This works with handwritten or actual text within different files. And then over here we have a favorites category, so you can see some of the folders or papers that I favorited or bookmarked, which I'll get into later. If I go back to the document setup, we also have where we can arrange folders or files by date, name, or type. So if I click any of these, it will reorder the files on my home page of GoodNotes. I normally leave it organized by name, which I think is the default for GoodNotes 5. Then over here we have kind of this list view, so if I were to click this, I could go into list view. However, I normally just leave it in kind of the folder view setup. Then over here we have this little dotted check mark, and if I were to click this, this would enable me to select multiple files at once to either export, duplicate, move, or send them to the trash. And then lastly, we have this gear shift icon up in the top right hand corner. If I were to click this, we can go into more settings of GoodNotes 5. So if I were to start with notebook templates, GoodNotes 5 is great and superior compared to other note-taking apps just because it offers in-house note-taking templates, and it also has different styles. So I can go in, and if I were to click this button right here, so since I'm under the paper category for notebook templates, if I were to click this, I can go in and change the paper color, so I can change it to dark. I can change it to all, which just shows all the paper types at once. If I click it again, I can go into a more like yellow, like old school standard color paper style, and then I can go back to white, and I normally leave mine at white. Then we have a GoodNotes standard size file. We have A7, which is the iPhone, A6, your traditional A5 and A4, as well as A3 letter and tabloid. We can also go in and change the layout or orientation of the document to either portrait or landscape. So at the top of your templates, you will see imported templates. If you don't have any templates imported, you won't see this. If you're interested in how to import templates into GoodNotes, you can just scroll over here and click the import button and then import either from your camera roll or your Files app, Google Drive, wherever you have layouts stored. I go in depth on how to do that in other videos if you're interested, so I'll be sure to have those linked in the cards and in the description below. Moving down, we have the essentials, and of course these paper templates are going to be available across the different orientations and colors. But we have your standard blank paper, dot grid, quad ruled, squared paper, ruled narrow, ruled wide. I imported a Chem PDF, so as you can see, you can go under different categories and import them. So I imported the hex grid into the essentials. Then we have different writing papers, so this will go into your Cornell or different columns. They have planner pages here, so your basic monthly pages, as well as music sheets. So now, as you can see here, I have it defaults to where I can just select my own paper and then have no cover. But if you scroll over to cover, you can also select various designs for your cover, and of course you can also do portrait or landscape as well, and you can also change the template size. So as you can see, they have plenty of different cover options. They have simple brown colors, they have different designs, they have some that look like bookmarks. They just have plenty of options, and you can import your own. So here I imported kind of an avocado design cover. If you're interested in how to make your own GoodNote covers, I have a video on that and I can link it below, as well as how to import these covers, which is exactly the same as importing your own templates. So that's notebook templates. If I'm going back over here to the gear shift icon, we can go into the settings of GoodNotes, which opens up various options for customizing GoodNotes to you. So the first option is handwriting recognition. This is where you're going to put your default language. Obviously, I have mine as English here. Then you can go into document editing, and this allows you to edit the default settings for your document. And so I have automatic screen lock, I have a status bar. So most of these will be default settings that come in GoodNotes that you will have to change. They have a pull to add features which I'll get into a little bit later when I'm opening up a document, but you can pull on your screen to add a new page. You can change the position of your toolbar from either the top or the bottom. You can also change the scrolling direction to either horizontal or vertical. I have mine set to horizontal. You can also turn off the Zoom Auto Advance window. And then here for the document opening section, you can select whether or not you want imported documents to automatically open. This is something that I have actually turned off because I don't want my documents to automatically open the second I import them. And you can also select whether or not you want to have documents open as new tabs. So these are the settings as far as editing your document within GoodNotes 5. So let's go back and check out more of the settings. So we have stylus and palm rejection. I generally leave all of these settings the same. However, you can go in and adjust your stylus. So if you use something other than the Apple Pencil, you can and go in and adjust this. You can also have it to where you can use your finger. So you can use single finger panning within the Apple Pencil settings. And then you can go in and customize your palm rejection settings as far as GoodNotes. You can change the sensitivity within GoodNotes. So if you find GoodNotes too sensitive or not sensitive enough, you can go in and change the settings. I think it is automatically set to medium in this case. And then you can change your writing posture. So this is really great if you are left-handed or you use your iPad in a different orientation. So it's automatically set to right-handed and you just rest your palm on the iPad. But if you were to come in from the side or from above, or if you were left-handed, you can go in and change the writing posture for GoodNotes. So moving out of those settings, we can go into iCloud settings. So what's nice about GoodNotes is that it will sync across all your devices that have GoodNotes. So other devices that have GoodNotes, such as the MacBook or the iMac, as well as your iPhone has GoodNotes, and you can have all your documents and files sync across those devices. So if you have iCloud settings enabled, it will sync across your devices. So I just have my iCloud settings turned on here. Then this is a new section in GoodNotes that they haven't officially finalized yet, but this is where you can email GoodNotes directly using that setting. Of course, they don't have it set up here as this little reminder says, but that is a setting that they're hoping to roll out within the future. Then they have this section for backing up your data, so you can back up your data for GoodNotes. In the off chance that something doesn't sync correctly, or you're worried about losing your notes for class or your planners on here, you can back it up directly. Then we have an automatic backup option, which I don't have mine toggled on just yet, but you can toggle on or off auto backup for all of your files. Then we have this search index feature, which you can turn on and off, and this is something that I referenced earlier in the video, where you can search your notes, whether they be handwritten or typed, and that is something that you can disable. And then they have a troubleshooting category where you can restore all of the default templates in GoodNotes. So let's say that you don't want any of the templates that you imported previously, you can restore them. And you can also regenerate missing thumbnails. So sometimes in the syncing process, the thumbnails, which are just these little graphics, temporarily disappear in the syncing process, and if that weren't to come back, you can regenerate thumbnails using that way. So these are all the settings within the gear shift icon on GoodNotes 5. So if I go back into the gear shift icon, we'll see that there are still more options. This is how you access your trash bin. So if you were to have documents that you trashed here, you could go in and select any to recover or permanently delete. Going back into the gear shift icon, they have a section to import data from GoodNotes 4. So GoodNotes 4 was the app prior to releasing GoodNotes 5. They're two separate apps, and I don't believe that they have GoodNotes 4 any longer. So if you still have GoodNotes 4 on your iPad and want to transfer documents from GoodNotes 4 to GoodNotes 5, you can use this import data feature. They use different codings, so they had to code in this function to allow you to import your data. Then they have a section to rate on the App Store, and then they have an About section about GoodNotes. So those are all the settings within the gear shift icon on the main screen. So now let's go into the more nitty-gritty of the tools within GoodNotes 5. So I can go into any of the folders that I have already created. However, I want to show you this feature here, and this is where you can create your folders or notebooks or anything regarding note-taking or digital planning. So here, if I were to click this new button, I can open up a new notebook, which would just open up the templates library, essentially where I can create my own notebook. So I can go in and choose a paper. So let's say I wanted a dotted journal. I can go in and change the cover, or I can select no cover. And then I can go in and title my notebook and create it. So let's go and title my notebook. Now that it's created, it's automatically going to open up into the GoodNotes tabs. I'm going to back out temporarily just so I can show you the other features within the new tab. So then I can also click the folder option and create a folder which I can drag and drop these files into. So I can drag and drop my files over into folders. You can also create folders within folders. So as you can see with my EMT course, I have the main EMT folder. But if I click this, I can go in and see even further organization for this class. So I made a folder for assignments and forms, lecture slides, and study resources, and then a few other documents that I have just left out. Going back to the new, we can import an image. We can also scan documents within GoodNotes as well as take a photo or import. They also have a quick note function, so if you were to quickly double tap on the plus, it'll automatically open up a default notebook for you to quickly take notes. So the import option is something that you will likely use often as well. It'll go to the base of your iPad, whether that be files or Google Drive, to allow you to import files into GoodNotes. So let's go into one of my folders. So let's go into my GoodNotes 5 tutorial. As you can see, I have multiple tabs open. These were my last opened tabs. So I have my digital planner here, and to X out a tab, I can just hit the X button. Then you'll see it has this icon over on the right hand side of the tab as well. If I were to click this, I could open it in a whole new window. Alright, so this is what the base of GoodNotes 5 looks like once you have a notebook or paper or digital planner open. So going down the toolbar at the top, you have these 4 little squares which will represent the kind of thumbnails or previews of all the pages within our document. So if I were to click this, you'd be able to see all of our thumbnails. Since I only have this one notebook open, we'll only see the one page, but here is where we can also add more pages either from the templates library, or it already has predetermined templates that I last used as well. You can also import documents or pictures or scan documents through this function as well. Then if I move over here, we can see the favorites tab, and the favorites tab is where we can see our bookmarked pages within this file, which I'll get into more later. And then we have the outlines feature where we can outline our documents or whatever else we import into GoodNotes, which I'll also get more into later. And then also in the thumbnails tab, before we leave this section, you'll see a little down arrow right here. If I were to click this, I can go in and add a page before or after. I can duplicate this page. It'll allow me to add the page to the outline as well as export or open into in a totally new window. So this is a way where we can add to our outline. So let's say I wanted to call this page index or chapter 1 or whatever it be, add, and then I move over to my outline, and then I will see exactly what I called that page as well as the page number within the file. This is really helpful if you're taking notes and you want to outline your notes like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, or if you have a digital planner and can't create certain links to certain pages, you can index or outline those pages as well. So let's close out of this. Then we have the magnifying glass, which just represents our search function, so we can search within this document. Then we have this little bookmark here, and if I select that, I bookmark that page. So if I were to go back to the thumbnail tab and go over to favorites, we would see this bookmarked page. Also, if we were to go back to the home screen and go under our favorites tab, we would see our bookmark page here. And so if I scroll through this, you can see all the pages or folders that I starred were bookmarked. Alright, so going back into our file, we have this little up arrow. So if I were to click this, this is how we would export our document. So we can export just this page. If we had a document that had multiple pages, we could export them all. It also gives us the option to print and choose the presentation mode for exporting. Moving over into the center, this is what we called our document, and if we were to click this down arrow, we could rename the document. We could also move it to a different folder, and it also gives you a little bit of info, so where it's located, the last time it's edited, and how many pages this document is. Moving on to the right hand side, we have these arrows which allow us to navigate through the file. Since I only have one page, I can't necessarily do that. Then we have this plus page option, which allows us to add pages either before or after, as well as the last page. We can choose from the recent templates here, or we can go into the templates or library. And of course, we can import either an image, scan our documents, take a photo, or import from our iPad. And then we have this pencil icon with a line through it. This is really important if you are digital planning in GoodNotes. You will need to select this tool, and it will hide the toolbar. This will allow you to click on links in files if there are links. So let's say you're using a PDF textbook that has links that allows you to jump between chapters. You'll want to make sure that the toolbar is hidden, or that you're in reading mode, which is this. And you'll want to make sure you're in this mode if you are digital planning. So just to show you what that looks like, let's go into my digital planner. So if the toolbar is visible, meaning I'm not in reading mode, I can't go in and click the links. It will draw on my file instead. And I'll get more into the tools later. Instead, I want to make sure that this no pin tool is selected, and then I can click between the months. Or in the case if you're a student, my textbook. Alright. To make the toolbar visible again, you'll just click on the pen tool again. And then lastly, in the top right hand corner are 3 dots, which is essentially your settings within the file, an alternative source for copying the page, rotating the page, so you can rotate the page if you want. You can add the page to the outline, so there's another way to change the feature. You can also go in and change the template. So let's say you took notes on dot grid, you don't really like how it looks, but you want it to, so you want to change it to graph paper without messing up your notes. So if I were to write hello, and decided that I wanted this on graph paper instead, I can go in, I can change my template to graph paper, and it will automatically apply to the document while leaving my text and everything else the same. I can also go to a specific page, I can clear the whole page, and then I can go more into the default settings where I change my scrolling direction as well as my palm rejection or the document editing itself. So moving into the actual tools itself of GoodNotes, we have a little icon over here on the left hand side, which is the zoom window. This window is ideal for note takers who want to not disrupt the flow of note taking. So I can write, hello, I'm taking notes, and it will automatically move the zoom window across the page without me having to zoom in and move all over the page once I reach the end of the line. This is the pen tool. This is obviously what you will use when you write within GoodNotes 5. They have 3 different pen options, which is not something that they used to have, which is really exciting. They have a fountain pen, a ballpoint pen, and a brush pen. Here you can also go in and change the palm rejection settings as well as disconnect or connect your stylus. To change the tip of your pen, you can move over here and change the size. So they have 3 different pen options as a default, so you can choose your 3 favorite tip sizes. So I have 0.5, 0.7, and 1.2 saved, but of course it'll go up. 2.0 is the max and 0.1 as the min. So you can go in and change the tips of the pens and choose your favorite. The next tool on the list is the eraser. And to access the settings within any of the pens, you can just double tap. So if I double tap the eraser, it shows specific settings for the eraser itself. So I can clear the page entirely. If I select any of these options, it will obviously change what is erased. So if I have erase entire stroke and I erase, it'll erase my entire stroke. So if I were to write this in cursive, and if I had this option selected and then hit it, it would erase all of that stroke. You can also have it to where it erases the highlighter only. So let's say I highlighted part of my text and I only want to erase the highlighter. I can go in and select this option and it will just erase the highlighted portion. So I encourage you to go around and play with these settings while you are taking your notes, because a lot of these settings are really helpful, especially if you want to just erase your highlighter if you're taking notes. They also have an auto deselect setting, as well as the usual palm rejection and Apple Pencil connection settings. Moving over to this next tool, this is the highlighter tool. So if I were to tap this again, I have specific settings for the highlighter tool. So I have this setting set to where it automatically draws in a straight line. If I were to deselect this, the highlighter stroke would just follow exactly where I wrote. Versus if I have this selected, it will autocorrect to make it straight while I'm taking notes. You can go in and change the highlighter colors over here. So it has 3 automatically viewable here. You can go in and change each of the individual ones. So they have preset options. You can go in and edit these options. If I click this edit button here, I can also go in and add my own. I can also click this button here and restore the highlighter set in general. So here's the presets. I can also go over here into customs and select from the standard square. I can put in a specific hex code for a highlighter. And of course they have the 3 different options here. Yellow is your favorite. You can leave yellow, and then you can choose like green or purple and then change them as needed. Similarly with the pen, you can go in and change your pen colors. It's the same as the highlighter. Clicking the edit to add your pen colors as well. Moving on to the next tool, this is the Shapes tool. And the Shapes tool is really handy, especially if you are taking notes or you are drawing boxes or circles or anything that you want perfect, essentially. So if I were to click this tool again, I could go in and change the pen style for this tool. There are also snap to stroke options, so if you do want a perfect square, perfect triangle, perfect circle, you want to make sure that this tool is selected. So with this selected, I can go in and draw a circle and it will auto create a perfect circle. Similarly, I can do a square or a triangle. If I have the fill color selected, it will automatically fill the square or circle very lightly. So that is the Shapes tool. Over here we have our lasso tool, and so this allows us to circle and move things. So if you drew something and want to move it, or you hit the end of a line and you need to move something, you can circle and lasso it and move it to wherever you need. If I were to click the lasso tool again, I can go into the different settings of exactly what I can lasso. So I can lasso just my handwriting, I can lasso just images that I import, or I can lasso text boxes. So this is a really handy tool, and I encourage you to delve into this further on exactly what you want to lasso within your notes. The next tool is this picture tool. And as you can see, it changed part of the toolbar here. It allows me to select any of my recent photos. So I can pull in the little YouTube icon. If I pull in an image, I can also click it and I can share it. So I can save it to my camera roll, I can message it, import it into a different app, or export it into a different app, what have you. If I click it again, I can also go in and crop it. I can crop it using the rectangular tool, or I can go down here and select freehand and draw out the crop itself. Then of course I can resize it however I need, or delete it. Alternatively, when you click the picture tool, let's say a photo you want is not within your recents, you can just tap anywhere on the document and go through your photo albums or deep into your camera roll. The next option is the camera tool, and the camera tool allows you to open up the camera and take a photo to import into the document. Next is the text tool, and the text tool, similarly to the highlighter tool and the pen tool, have 3 different color options. You can go in and change the color of your text, as well as create your own hex codes for the text. You can also have different options selected as far as the text, whether it be bold, italicized, and if you were to click over here on this A icon, you can go into the more into the settings of your text. So you can change the size, you can give it a background color, you can give it a border, you can go in and change the font. So you'll just select this text tool and then click anywhere on the document and use your keyboard to type. Lastly, within this toolbar, we have the laser pointer, which is a new addition to GoodNotes 5. It allows you to kind of point or circle or highlight anything on your document that you don't want permanently there. So let's say for whatever reason you are presenting something within your GoodNotes, whether it be a presentation of something or you're just showing someone your notes, trying to make them understand whatever you wrote down, you can use the laser pointer tool to circle or underline or highlight, and it will disappear. There are two options for the laser pointer. We have kind of like the pen flow tool, which allows you kind of to just draw with the laser pointer and then it'll disappear. And then we just have a dot itself, so it will follow your pencil or stylus like a traditional pointer. So I could be like, this is where I want you to see. You can see the pointer. Or I can go and select the flow pen and circle or draw. So these are the tools within GoodNotes 5. This was a pretty comprehensive tutorial on GoodNotes 5. I showed you how to make use of the tools on the home screen, how to organize, what the favorites function does, as well as the outline feature, the search function, as well as the tools themselves within GoodNotes, and how to customize them to do exactly what you need them to do. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, I'll be answering all of those below in the comments. Thanks.